From Utah Motorsports Campus, getting ready to get underway. When the lights go off, it's on. And here we go.
There's a couple riders in the back kind of jump, but Cameron Beaubier is trying to get the lead down into turn one, and it looks like he's going to do that, Greg. Matthew Skoltz trying to go around the outside of Gerloff. Oh, Gerloff stuffs it back underneath him. People say sometimes about Garrett not being aggressive. Well, they just proved him. That move there just proved them all wrong. Garrett Gerloff, very aggressive. Doesn't want to see these two guys get away. Gerloff has looked really solid this morning, Greg.
Number one, Cameron Beaubier, your national champ with the launch from pole position, leads us. The question here, Jason, is the way that Tony Elias likes to ride. He likes to dive for apexes. This track seems very flowy.
Yeah, no, it is. It's actually very flowy. That's what makes it kind of hard to pass, though. And you can see we're hearing right now that Jake Gagne did jump the start. It looked like somebody moved a little bit early back there, but Gagne did move just a little early, according to the MotoAmerica officials. Back to the front here. This is looking at the back of Tony Elias's bike as they come down into the attitudes. This is a big, hard, quick right, left, right, left, right, left. In the background there, I can see Josh Herrin trying to get by Matthew Skoltz, and he was able to make that pass happen. So right now, these guys are going to know, okay, we got 23 laps. It's a very physical track as well, Greg.
Yeah, and the way Garrett Gerloff was riding this morning, I mean, first session of the day, he hit curbing, tipped off, brought the bike back, and then went fast just a couple turns later.
Yep.
So he looks like Garrett Gerloff came here to win this race and put this non-winning thing that's going on behind him.
Yeah, he's trying very hard, and this is one of those places, though, now, once you realize if you can keep the two guys in front of you in sight, not have too much pressure from behind, although Josh Herrin's going to be trying to close that gap. Cameron gets in really deep into one. That's going to load Tony to go by him. He just wasn't close enough, Craig. You can see Tony looking over at him, kind of waiting for him to turn back in. But right now, Gerloff doesn't have any pressure at all coming from behind, and that's what he wants to be able to see. So Cameron kind of makes his first mistake. Look how close Tony gets to the edge of the track. That's where I was talking about in our hot spots, that you might see some people try to pass or go up underneath.
The momentum carrying him wide, almost off the edge of the racetrack. For Cam Beaubier, it looked for a moment there that both Tony Elias and Cam Beaubier kind of were looking at each other like, what are you going to do? I don't know, what are you going to do?
Exactly, yeah, because Tony wanted to go up underneath, but there's a little crown on the exit of turn one. But what that's allowed now is Josh Herrin to close up. You can see the number 2 bike there. Josh Herrin's closed up on the back of our leaders. And just really right behind them, you got Matthew Skoltz and JD Beach. JD Beach takes a shot and goes up underneath Skoltz as they headed into the attitudes, because he was behind him coming out of turn 7. So the attack Yamaha of JD Beach is also moving forward.
You can see Tony teeing up for that tight line as we went into that corner. If he was close enough to make a pass on Cam Beaubier, that might be a spot. And Tony still trying to get that GSXR 1000 just slowed down. Yoshimura Suzuki 24 Elias all over the back of Monster Energy Yamaha Factory Racing's Cam Beaubier. Josh Herrin on the number 2, trying to go around the outside of Gerloff there for a moment. So obviously the 3 behind the number 1 feel like he might be holding them up for the moment.
We'll see how that goes. If Cameron had a little mess up on that first lap there in turn 1, they ran 31.2, 30.5 for JD Beach.
Herrin. Sorry, look
there
at
you
Herrin.
go. Yep.
Herrin goes up the inside.
Made a straight
move.
line of it. Here comes Garrett Gerloff trying to fire right back as they go. This is the section, Greg, that I talked about prior to our show where we could see some fireworks, and we're starting to see it now. JD Beach is on the back of this 4 as well. Matthew Skoltz has come along with the party. You can see Jake Lewis just behind him, and Jason Uribe is also in touch with this lead group.
EBC brakes, Superbike racing at its finest, and Herrin now makes a move past his teammate, so he's going to slot himself into second position. All of a sudden, Josh Herrin is on the gas and on the move.
Yep, and this is the kind of track. Look at Gerloff. He goes up under Tony Elias as they head into the attitude. So much for not passing at this track. Obviously, these guys are making it look easy. This is a great place for Josh Herrin to be. Josh Herrin right now running second, but we know how aggressive he can be. And when he's confident with the front end of that bike specifically, he can put it anywhere he wants.
Woo!
JD Beach now is trying to make a pass on Tony just in the background there, but he wasn't quite able to make it.
So Tony moving backwards. No panic time, though. If you're a Tony Elias fan, we know the Yoshimura Suzuki pilot can claw his way back up front.
Yeah, but you can't keep going back. You know, Tony's going to know that. You can't, and JD's going to be hungry to get by. There was some chatter coming from that attack Yamaha this morning when I was out on the fence watching this morning, G-Dub. I could see the thing chattering. I talked to JD after his accident. He did confirm that with me. He said, yeah, I got a little bit of chatter. So he crashed in the attitude. Now let's see if Herrin straight lines this like he did before. Here's a great back view from Tony Elias's bike on the. You can see both JD Beach and Matthew Skoltz.
Matthew Skoltz, that second rider in the screen. Hannah has more on Skoltz. Hannah?
So I actually touched base with Matt after the second qualifying practice today, and he said he didn't feel quite as good as the first qualifying practice. I asked him why, and he said they were running a taller gearing during that second practice, so they changed it back to the settings they had for the first practice. Hopefully that should help him this afternoon, so keep an eye out for that number 11 Gold Westby bike.
It helped him for the moment. He dive bombed, but then he kind of messed up everybody. Now there's a bit of a gap to Tony Elias from that group, so trying to work his way forward was the number 11 Skoltz on that Westby Racing Yamaha.
Well, he took the shot, and I said coming into the weekend, prior to our telecast with Greg and I talking, I said there could be some feelings getting hurt here, and we're already starting to see people take shots, and so far the race has been really clean, but you've got to get creative with where you want to pass, and there is a bit of a factor of surprise that you have on your competitors, because the commitment that you have to make to pass here at this track right now has got to be a big one. And all the while, Garrett Gerloff looks very comfortable, doesn't he? Just kind of sitting there in third place right now. He looks really comfortable. Almost like he's waiting for Herron to take a shot at Beaubier.
Yeah, I wonder what Gerloff's plan is at the moment. Conditions here, great. 82 degrees outside. For the track temperature, 78. Mild humidity, light breeze. Perfect weather for what we have going on here. The question is, as we get deep into this race, 23 laps scheduled in this one, who's going to have the setup with such a short period of time? And it looks like the 33 of Kyle Wyman on that SC Project KWR Ducati coming in the pits.
We haven't seen that very much this year at all for that, with that Ducati pulling in. So back up at the front here, we got, what, 8 Superbikes with Jason Uribe just a little bit off the back there.
Jason Uribe, by the way, on a Honda CBR 1000. Yeah.
So great to see.
Great onboard look at Josh Herron's motorcycle. A new look for you as you get to see what he's seeing from the back seat. So there's a two-up ride with Herron as he continues to hound our number 1 Beaubier.
It's a great view, and I'm sure if you get back to that view again, you're going to see very rarely is Josh Herron going to be sitting in the middle of the seat. He's going to be one side or the other because there's no big straightaways here, as we have heard. Yep, San Bernardino goes down in turn 1.
So shame for the 17, San Bernardino on the Fly Racing Yamaha in the gravel on this one.
Yeah, just looking there too. Jake Lewis is just right there with these guys as well. See that yellow helmet in the background? Jake Lewis is just off the back of this group ever so slightly. He's trying to claw his way back in.
Jake Lewis on the M4 X-Star Suzuki, formerly of Yoshimura Suzuki a couple of years ago, continues to fight and develop that GSX-R 1000. I mean, so close. I mean, it's
he's
really,
there though. He's there on the back of those guys.
It's a seven rider train with Jason Uribe just back there as well. JD Beach, number 95. A good look out the back of Tony Elias.
And really, when you go through this next left that Tony's in now, right here, you can see Herron's bike gets a little bit loose too there. See that thing snap around on him, Greg, before he tipped it into turn 5. But now we've kind of had those big fireworks for the first 5 laps. Things have settled down. See, first 4 laps, let's say, things have settled down just a little bit.
Just looking at Herron's body language to see just how hard he's riding to keep up with Cam Beaubier. Herron looks in control as Beaubier using every inch of the racetrack on that line.
Yeah, for sure. He doesn't want to leave any of the doors open. I just think Cameron knows how hard it is to pass. And I'm looking at the lap times, Greg, 31.3. So they ended up 29. I think Cameron did 29.9 this morning. Is that what he ended up at this morning? 29.8. So they're have another look here. This is JD Beach coming down the inside of Tony Elias. So that was probably a little bit earlier. And he gets a great drive out of turn 5 down into turn 6. And able to make that pass. So now you got the attack Yamaha sitting in 4th. We got 3 Yamahas occupying the top 4 spots. And I don't think Tony's going to be too worked up about this just yet. He knows that there's a lot of racing still to go. I mean, we're on lap 7 of 23 right now, Greg. And all these guys are just locked together. I know, just locked together.
Look like Kyle Wyman was coming back out on the racetrack. That's the bike you saw. That's where pit out is as Gerloff goes side by side with Herron.
Starting to look.
He's just got a tidier line coming out of that corner. Herron's got to use more racetrack and really get that Suzuki back over there. It's part of the characteristic of those Yamahas is just compared to a Suzuki, occasionally that Yamaha set up with slightly better transitions from side to side.
And JD is really getting to the point now where he feels like he can do something with Garrett Gerloff going down into 6. It looks like his bike works really nicely down into that turn 6 area.
I saw Tony up and out of the saddle for a second.
Did you? Yep.
Yeah, it looks like his tire's really starting to protest. So Tony Elias back there. And this is exactly the kind of race he doesn't want to have. With the points lead in this championship that Elias has, it's, JD Beach lost the front for a moment.
He did, didn't he? You saw that too. He saved it, but he was talking this morning when I was watching over there, Greg. That's where he had a little tiny bit of chatter going through that turn 11, Twelly turn over there.
That chatter coming from the rear, it has to do with a clutch issue in terms of they have slipper clutches on these motorcycles, which means you can grab an aggressive downshift and you won't blow the motor up. But they just haven't quite dialed it into exactly the way JD needs it at the moment. So they continue to work on the mechanical part of a clutch. We don't get to talk about mechanics on a motorcycle very often, Jason. Usually it's electronics this and electronics that. But that Attack Estison Racing Yamaha team doing a great job of putting an amazing motorcycle under JD Beach. And the 95 sits 4th. At the moment, it's Beaubier out front with Josh Herron in 2nd, Gerloff Beach. Tony Elias continues to hold on to 5th spot, but he's got Matthew Skoltz all over the back of him. Jake Lewis back there, and then Jason Uribe just starting to fade off the back.
Just lost a little bit of touch, has Jason, but still doing a really good job. Haven't seen him in a MotoAmerica race in a year or two. You see him just in the background flying the Honda flag and doing a really good job, but sure, it's neat to see 7 Superbikes up in the front, all covered within what, Greg? Like 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, the old adage.
7 guys.
You could cover the lead group with a blanket, and that's what we're looking at right now. Let's get down to Hannah, who has an update. Hannah?
I touched base with the Kyle Wyman Racing team, and it seems that Kyle pulled in because he was concerned the bike may be overheating. They weren't able to definitively say whether or not that was the issue. He did go back out, so hopefully that's not a problem for him and he's able to finish up this race.
All right, that can be definitely something to look at, especially when you're a privateer team like Wyman. You don't want to explode the motor if it's getting too hot. Not that the factory teams have unlimited resources, but I can tell you that the riders up front, if the bike's starting to overheat, they're just going to run it till it pops.
Yeah, and if Kyle was up front right now, he would be thinking the same exact way. But when you're still working on setups and things and you see your motor getting ready to overheat, we got a couple big races at Laguna coming and Sonoma that just wants to make sure that, that nothing bad's going to happen to that motor.
Garrett,
you're right.
Yeah.
You're just going to talk about Garrett. I love it. It's just straight lines out. I love seeing him do that. And he just looks so comfortable. The hardest part for Garrett right now is as comfortable as he looks, he's just got that wolf pack of guys behind him right now that he's just got to almost keep an eyes in the back of his head and make sure he doesn't let them go through, because while he's planning on doing whatever he might be thinking about with Herron and his teammate.
That was Josh Herron for a moment thinking about something.
Yeah, well, he's got a lot of speed out of turn 5, Herron does, and I think that, we've seen this out of Josh lately where he's just kind of sitting back and watching what guys are doing. He made a lot of the big moves he needed to do early. Now he's put himself in a nice position. He can kind of pace himself off of what Cameron's doing. He knows how good he is going into corners, so it makes it harder for anybody to go past him. And really, if you're on the back of that, like Matthew Skoltz and Jake Lewis, when anything here in front of you kind of kicks off, you just want to be there to be able to take advantage of that. So I like where those two guys are sitting as well. See how tight the line is going from turn 13 to 14, Greg. Nobody is opening up any lines or anything, even from 14 to 15. We might see a little bit different lines specifically at this track than you might see from some of the 600s and the 300s. These guys straight line a lot more things, and you'll see that as they come out of turn 1 here. You watch Garrett Gerloff, he'll go actually over the curbing on the right coming out of this turn. Right there, he just straight lines that. I love seeing that. And then he does the same thing into this next left. He'll straight line from this right to the left, and that is going to be a possible passing spot for him.
So Cameron Beaubier doing 131.5s. He qualified at 29.8. They didn't have the qualifying tires this time because there was no Super Pole because of the abbreviated schedule. So he did qualifying practice number 1 and 2, took the combined results. So a 29.8 is an achievable lap time on a race tire. But right now they're running at 31.5s, and you can see that Beaubier's got a pace for the moment that's keeping this group. I wonder if there's anyone in this pack, if they get ahead of Cameron Beaubier, that's going to shatter this group into pieces.
Yeah, well, you almost got to think about, Herron coming off that big win at MotoAmerica. Oh, Garrett Gerloff had a look, but Herron's got some momentum coming into here. And this morning in the first practice was off a little bit, but this is what this kid does so well. He races really, really hard, and he's able to kind of will himself up there and then ride with a certain intelligence now where he's got himself in that good position.
Cameron Beaubier continues to lead the way here at Utah Motorsports Campus over Josh Herron, Garrett Gerloff, and JD Beach. Can he keep this frantic pace up as the race wears on? We're getting ready to find out. All right, race continues on. No change up front as Beaubier continues to lead over Herron and Gerloff. JD Beach comfortably in fourth. Not in our frame at the moment, but it has been a bit of an accordion effect as now Beach with a couple of bike lengths between himself and Gerloff. Could this be the move that starts to break things apart? I don't think so just yet, because we're right in the mid part of the race where we often see Jason Superbike's race kind of settle down a bit.
Yep, and that's what we've done. We've settled down from about lap 6. We haven't seen anything big. It looked like JD was having a couple looks. I've seen Garrett have a couple of looks, but those are more test runs of maybe some planning and some ideas and thoughts of what you want to do. Here comes Herron as he looks. JD Beach takes a shot at Garrett Gerloff as they go in the attitudes. I saw him setting that up the lap prior, and I was just talking about he took a shot a little bit earlier, so now Garrett, you know, as soon as Tony sees that, JD goes forward, Garrett gets into his wheelhouse. We'll see if Tony tries to make a move next. But Tony's got his own mirrors full back there with Matthew Skoltz looking down also.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, Garrett Gerloff, look, he went right back underneath. Did he fire back up underneath him?
Oh, is that JD off the track?
I think it is. I think Garrett Gerloff fired up underneath him.
Yep.
And yeah, that's exactly what happened, and it opened up, and that's what happens. That's why it's so key. If you can do it, just out of our camera shot when they were going in there, it looked like Garrett was taking a shot. Garrett Gerloff was taking a shot at JD Beach. He did that, and it moved JD off the track, and look what it did. It allowed Tony Elias to come on through up to third spot now.
Wow, so a big shuffling in this particular lap and how we had things going. So Gerloff with a lot of work to do again. JD Beach, too, had a methodical working his way back up. So
there you go.
Here's a look.
And they both it just ended up running them both off. He was committed to trying to go past, and you're going to see when they came out of here, Garrett actually put his hand up and you see it just
so
there.
that wasn't necessarily a shot. What it was Garrett sucking
got in there too.
JD Beach right into that mistake.
And he went underneath him there and surprised JD. JD had to stand it up, but speed carried him out there, Greg. So, so now Tony goes from 5th to 3rd and sitting on the back. But that's what happens in these races. Sometimes if you can see the leaders aren't getting away, you can be a little bit patient of what's going on.
And the other thing, Jason, too, is I saw Garrett Gerloff 3 corners ago just sending the rear end sideways with a long black mark on it. So Gerloff understands the urgency right now. Even though it's lap 12 of 23, he's got to just stay on the back of Tony Elias.
Yeah, and he will. He'll try to get that little tiny gap that you see there closed. But you can see Tony was running around in 5th or 6th sitting there.
So we're getting ready to put another lap in the bank. Halfway flags were flying, so.
Pretty physical track. I mean, for the halfway flags to just now be flying, we've seen a lot of things going on, and it's just now we got to start thinking, is there a plan in this man's head here, Cameron Beaubier, where he was thinking, if I control pace for a certain amount of time and then try to drop the hammer? Because, yeah, Greg, we're still in the 31s, 31.3 and 31.2 that time for Elias and Garrett Gerloff. So they just ran their fastest laps of the race this last lap past.
And personal best lap times, right, for Tony Elias, Garrett Gerloff, 31.3s for both of them. And this is what we talked about Tony Elias. He's a bulldog. He just clamps on, and if he's within touch, it's this part to the end where Tony starts to feel it and he starts to make moves. He's just sitting there analyzing. Okay, where's my bike set up where I can do good work and do it efficiently?
Herron just gets a really nice run out of turn 7.
Yeah, but the thing is if you mess that particular section up at the racetrack, that can be your race.
Yeah.
You know, as you head into the attitudes, you've got to keep a good line, because it's more, to me, Jason, seems like the exit of turn number 10 is really important. Things have changed a bit since we were away. Cam Beaubier leading the way from Josh Herron, but Tony Elias up into 3rd spot as we saw Garrett Gerloff trying to make a move on JD Beach, pushed them both wide, and sent Tony Elias through into third place. So this is how they run. Is Elias, is he going to make a move? No. So it's Beaubier, Herron, Elias, Gerloff, Schultz, JD Beach, and where's Jake Lewis?
He's just starting to go off the back. He just started falling off the back about 2 laps ago, Jake did. So he's still trying to grind his way back up there, but he just started to fall off the back of that lead group. So, and I can't really say that it's the pace up front has really changed too much, Greg. 31s still for the leaders, but Jake has just started creeping into the 32s now, kind of mid 32s that last lap.
10 laps to go in this one. Beaubier's had his way. But, Jason, I mean, it feels like it's getting tense up here in the booth at this moment. It just looks like
Look at this.
There are 5 riders that can throw a shot at him. And they do. The first one is Josh Herron. Can he keep it tidy? And does he have pace to pull away? Beaubier now knows who was behind him this whole time.
Now, does Tony try to go by Cameron as well here shortly, Greg? Because generally when you're in a pack of guys like this, if you're a guy that's behind a group and you see the guy in front of you take a shot at someone, you want to try to take that shot immediately on that person that just got passed. And you can see Tony draws up on the back of Cameron. We saw Josh planning this a lap earlier. As you can see, he just slides up underneath Cameron as they head down into this Attitudes. He looks tremendously fast out of turn 7, has a good drive. Yosh bike looks geared perfectly out of there, gets up alongside the Yamaha and was able to make that pass.
Oh, Gerloff has gotten by.
Yes, Tony
Elias. So there goes the 31 of Gerloff. Oh, and Elias is going to fight right back in turn 1. They're side by side. He sends it sideways. He gets it down to the apex, and so he'll grab that spot back. So Gerloff feeling it at the moment, and Herron's pace hasn't broken this field up much at all.
Well, we're going to let Josh do one solid lap here in the lead and see if that pace does get broken up at all. Now Cameron's going to get to go to school a little bit. Look at Tony. Makes a big lunge up the inside of Cameron Beaubier. So Cameron, just like that, in the span of less than a lap, has gone from first to third. And Matthew Schultz has got by Gerloff as well. So the number 11 Westby Racing R1 has now moved himself up into that 4th spot. And it looks like JD Beach. Garrett Gerloff makes a mistake in turn 7. Just like that, he's back to 6th place.
So Gerloff taken out of his rhythm for the moment. He's got plenty of laps to find it again, but he's got to claw his way back up front. Tony Elias with eyes on the front of his head and the back of his head. He's got to race forward, and behind him is Elias. Moves his way into 2nd spot, now going to attack his teammate.
Just look at how early Tony starts tipping into some of these corners. He gets and you just think, I know it's coming, but now it's a matter of on the board, these guys are going to be working hard down there, these pit crew guys, because they're going to try to let their riders know who's behind who. So now, if Herron comes by, it might show that his teammate is in that 2nd spot.
A lot of time spent by the Yoshimura Suzuki crew. They came here and tested. And a lot of time is spent away from the racetrack on electronic strategies. And can it pay off
for them? There it goes. There he goes, Greg. Tony Elias just goes right to the inside. Probably feels like he might have a little pace. He wants to take a turn at leading. Let's not forget, he was back in 5th just maybe, 4 or 5 laps ago? And with a couple mistakes from some others and a little bit of aggressive riding, now he's right at the front.
Tony Elias, his turn to take a pull.
Look at how tight he is. Nobody's going to go up underneath him there.
There's no way.
And he can control the apex speed at that corner, Greg, and that's what's going to make him especially hard to pass, because he's going to be able to get down to the apex of these corners like we've talked about so much and make it very difficult for these guys.
And Schultze has moved his way up into 3rd around Camp Beaubier. So the number 11 Westby Racing Yamaha, Matthew Schultz, is there.
He's right there, Greg, and looks great doing it. And as he comes out of turn 7, factory end, JD Beach he tried to have a little look at Cameron. Wouldn't be surprised if JD can get a little bit closer out of 7 the next lap if that's what he tries to line up.
How do you like this EBC Brakes Superbike race action? Did you think you'd see it? 7 riders up front. These 6 trying to get it sorted out as Jake Lewis on the M4 X-Star Suzuki has lost touch. So these riders have got to sort it out with themselves.
But look who's going away. This is the biggest lead of the race that we have seen so far. Tony Elias is now starting to just gap ever so slightly, Greg. It is the biggest gap we've seen as he comes into this last corner. Great onboard shot from Cameron Beaubier right now, looking at the back end of Matthew Schultz, who in turn is looking at the tail section of Josh Herron as they come across the line on lap 17 of 23. And right now, 0.7 of a second, almost a full second now. Tony Elias has pulled out on that lap with a 31.4. So only a 10th off his fastest lap. And Tony's in the lead. Now watch, he goes to this left. Watch how tight he is how tight he goes in. So he's about mid-track that lap. And here comes Schultz. Schultz takes a shot at Josh Herrin. And let's see if he's able to get the bike turned and accelerated off, or if Herrin's going to fire back underneath him. He does.
Oh, and they barely touched, so it looks like Schultz's knee might have touched the side of Herrin's motorcycle, so Schultz relegated back to third spot. But if Schultz has any chance of winning this race, he's got to get by Herrin now, because Tony Elias is setting sail off in the distance for the moment.
Yep, he has just ran a perfect race, has Tony Elias. And we're seeing now that the queue is getting up behind. JD Beach has now got by Cameron Beaubier like we thought might happen, Greg. I didn't get to see where that had happened. But now JD Beach, and there goes Matthew Schultz, letting off the brakes, going up underneath Herrin in the turn 11 turn to the Twella turn. Matthew Schultz has now put himself into second. Is Herrin going to get driving back by him? He does.
Schultz has got to really protect that inside line. Herrin's going to be pushed wide, though. Schultz, total contact.
Yep.
And Herrin frustrated by that one. You can see his body language. He'll lose another position. So rubbing elbows here at Utah Motorsports Campus.
But that's the nature of this track. JD Beach now moves himself up into third. So now we got two Yamahas trying to chase down the 24 Tony Elias, who's now pulled out a 2.3 second lead. So we knew there'd be contact at this race. And we're going to get a look at it again here, Greg, as they came into turn 13. Herrin made a pass. Schultz tried to stay away, but the two lines just connected. That's, to me, a bit of a race incident there.
Yeah, it seemed like more bodies touching than it did motorcycles, too. So it's just the big lanky body of Matthew Schultz, and the way the bike was coming off the corner, just had to give it a little bit more to get that bike upright. So Herrin.
And Josh is still there. Now he's get his head back down.
Josh Herrin's still there. He's off his rhythm, though. Off his rhythm. So Schultz now with JD Beach behind him.
I am shocked to see the two factory Yamaha bikes.
We have three factory bikes.
Yeah, behind though. Oh, who's JD Beach? Crashes turn 6 and 7. JD Beach goes down.
In frustration.
Wow.
So just as Beach had his podium in sight, down goes the Attack Performance Estenson Racing Yamaha rider. Crew looking on.
Yeah, Walker's looking on there. You can see, and that's going to be just in the middle of 6 and 7. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. So here's the battle again. Herrin now back into third, and he runs wide again a little bit. Cameron Beaubier is going to try to go by him, and he does. So Josh it looks like his bike's just pushing a little bit when he goes into that left-hander, and he can't get it quite turned. Let's see if he does anything with Cameron as they head down to turn 1. But Beaubier now takes back that third spot. These are important championship points. And you can see JD Beach just bumming out. We'll have a look here. JD runs out wide, turns
he tried to turn it.
Yeah, he tried to turn it and got over the curbing, and you could see it. There's a curbing over there, Greg. Yeah. It looked like it wasn't smooth.
It's like gator teeth.
Yeah,
and it just literally disconnected the Dunlop tire from the surface, and down he went.
What is going on? Josh Herrin's got a problem.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, that might have been something. Not sure why, but let's have a look. He goes into turn 1 and just goes straight. So
get it slowed down, maybe?
Yeah. And it's so weird because every time the guy is on the podium, he's winning. And I really thought he was going to be on the podium today, even if he didn't win, you know?
So all of a sudden, just like that, late in this race, turn of events, as Tony Elias got out front. He was fifth position in a couple of corners. It seems like he was leading the race, and now he has set sail. And after he started to set the pace, the rest of these riders that were all bunched up, just like that.
And how about this guy, Matthew Schultz, doing a really nice job. He's had a couple of tough rounds, hasn't he, Greg? We haven't really got to talk about Matthew much. Yeah, but this second is well earned. All the stuff happened after he had taken second place.
Schultz has a couple of EBC Brake Superbike race wins in his career. And we thought naturally with new electronics on the Westby Racing team that he would just jump in and be right there in the mix. But they continue to develop the bike, continue to work on his riding. And all this hard work by Westby Racing Yamaha is starting to really pay dividends for Matthew Schultz, sitting sixth in the championship with one podium appearance so far this season. It's a second place finish, and that was at round number 2 at the Suzuki Championship at Michelin Raceway. So can Schultz repeat? There's still 4 laps to go in this one. A lot of track to cover as things have started to settle down for the riders behind Tony Elias. For the moment, a 31 flat. So Elias continues to push his pace. Another personal best lap set by Tony Elias, 31 flat. If you want to know, JD Beach at a 130.577 on lap 2 has the fastest lap of the race on this one.
Yeah, and just looking at our screen there, you can see Josh Herron is still going around, which is good. He did come by our commentary position here going slow, so he obviously has a problem, but he's trying to get the bike home. It'd still be some points for Josh. Really bummed for him, Greg, because he just rode so well, especially at the beginning of this race. Now the two teammates, the two factory Yamaha teammates, are going at each other a little bit here.
I wonder if maybe there was some damage when they contacted each other.
Know.
Just a little something, maybe a bent, this or that, but it looked all body to me, but we don't know for sure.
But it looked to me, too, that it just looked like Josh was having trouble getting the bike where he wanted it on the exit of this turn that these two just went through. We just kind of running just a little bit wide. But yeah, I'm not sure. Almost like it was a brake thing, like he couldn't get the thing slowed down. So not really sure, but hopefully he can just at least get this thing finished.
Really started to spread out in the late stages of this one. It's Yoshimura Suzuki's Tony Elias out front by 2.9 seconds over Westby Racing's Matthew Skultz. And the final spot of the podium left to these two factory racers on those Monster Energy Yamaha Factory Racing R1s.
And that time by, they were both quicker. Beaubier and Gerloff were both quicker than Matthew Skultz in second. So, and there's only 2 laps to go, but they're going to have to work really hard. Garrett actually looks like he's got some pace on Cameron as well right now. Cameron's bike's just moving around more than I'm used to seeing, both going into corners and coming out of them. There goes Garrett Gerloff. He makes a big lunge at his teammate. And is he going to make it stick? Yes. Great pass by Garrett Gerloff going there into turn 6. Tremendous stuff out of him. So now he can set sail and try to go after Matthew Skultz.
If he has anything left in the tank at this point. And we're talking about championship ramifications. This is the halfway point of the season. Round 5, race number 1. Beaubier was only 9 points back from Tony Elias. It looked like at the beginning of the race that Gerloff was going to, or that Beaubier was going to get a whole heap of points on Tony Elias. But Tony's having his way now. Wow. So Beaubier has really got to hold on to this position if he's going to minimize the damage, because Matthew Skultz is gone.
There's a lot of things that were happening at the beginning of this race that it could have just gone anyway. And then we started to see a little bit of fallout from some of our top runners, and it's broken wide open. And we've seen Garrett go back. Now he's charging forward again, trying to go after Matthew Skultz. I'm looking at lap times. Garrett Gerloff just goes his fastest lap of the race, a 31.1, Greg, to a 31.3 of Matthew Skultz. So right now, Matthew's still pretty clear. He's got about 1.6 seconds over those factory Yamahas. And Cameron Beaubier now is trying to go back after his teammate, because he's got to know the guy leading the championship is leading the race. And the points that Cameron was able to pick up at MotoAmerica, he doesn't want to just give it back right now.
Yeah, because you're talking about third place pays 16 points. So the difference between first and second is 9. The difference between first and fourth, 12 points.
Yep.
That would get this thing to 21, all of a sudden from 9 to 21. So Beaubier, if he's got any shot at it, he's got to get back up onto his teammate, but Gerloff looking so good at the moment. Really starting to settle into this rhythm. The sophomore Superbike class, there's 17 of
Verderico,
who sits up, getting out of the way, yep.
So did Matthew Orange, it looks like they're on the 40. Is that the 47, is it, Greg? Yep, Matthew running 10th. So he was able to do the same. Didn't look like it held up these guys too much. I saw Tony out the window here. It looked like he got held up ever so slightly, but he's just taking his time. He knows he's got a, what do you have that time by, 2.7 second lead over Skultz. When he comes by this time, he's going through the last corner now. He'll see the white flag.
My question to Tony is, so what's the bike feel like on a full fuel load versus when it starts to drop a little bit? Because at the beginning of this race, Tony did not look as comfortable as he looks at the moment. And things really start. So it's
really well said. Yeah,
right?
I agree
you know
with
what I mean? It's like,
it's almost like he was waiting for the fuel load to just dissipate a bit.
It might be that, it might not be that, but that's going to be where the questions start, because when he really decided to take the helm, he just hasn't looked back, and the bike looks good. You know, it's not moving around a lot. It's turning really well for Tony. He's not having to do things like we talked about. Traditionally, Tony likes to dive for apexes, but this track really doesn't allow for a lot of that to happen. On this final lap of the race, Tony Elias, the Spaniard, the 2017 EBC Brakes Superbike champion, trying to get that back from Cameron Beaubier. This race really going the way he wants it to go, not only from a running up front perspective and a possible win with a few corners to go, but the fact that Skultz and Gerloff have put some daylight between himself and his closest competitor for the national championship.
It looked like that battle for third in the background there was getting a little bit closer between Schultz and Gerloff. Gerloff's really making a charge, Greg. He's gone 31-1, and he just did the fastest first split of the race to Gerloff here on the last lap as he's closing up on the back of Matthew, but I think Matthew's got enough in the tank for the final 2 corners.
Tony Elias was back as far as 5th place, has worked his way into a race win. Trying to wheelie across the line here at altitude, takes the checkered flag in fine style, and Tony Elias adds his 4th win of the season. Only podium finishes for Tony Elias when he's finished a race. What a year he's having so far.
Matthew Schultz comes across 2nd. Garrett Gerloff, tremendous ride in 3rd. Cameron Beaubier 4th. Looking to see if Jake is across. Jake Lewis, top 5 finish for the M4 X-Star Suzuki team.
Outstanding run by Jake Lewis.
Yep.
Was back there watching the mayhem in front of him. They dropped off like flies, and another top 5 finish for the Kentucky native. And a good bit of information. Jason Uribe in 8th place on the Honda.
Gagne, Uribe, and Anthony almost came across the line together, and I'm happy to see Josh Herron did get 6, so he got something out of today, even though I know it's not what he wanted, but he got some points out of it. But that battle for 7th between Gagne, Uribe, and Anthony was all the way to the line.
I don't think Gagne's going to be credited, though, with that finish because he had a stop-and-go penalty, and I'm not sure if he actually served it or not.
Will they do a stop-and-go, or is it a time penalty maybe or something?
Penalty?
Yep, so we'll have to look back and see. As you can see, Matthew Schultz doing some goon riding.
All right, so 7th place. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to hear from these riders. How'd it go for Tony Elias? I'm interested. Fox Sports coverage of MotoAmerica Superbike racing from Utah is brought to you by EBC Brakes, the official 2019 MotoAmerica Superbike Series sponsor. Let's get right down to Hannah, who is in winner's circle.
Okay, Garrett Gerloff, a 3rd place finish on the weekend for you. How were you ultimately able to get around your teammate to get on the podium today?
Yeah, I felt pretty strong today. I felt like I had a really good first half of the race and just had to ride around a couple of technical gremlins that eventually went away, which is kind of why I dropped back in the middle of the race. But yeah, nothing. Just I know I had speed on these guys, and Cameron looked like he might have been struggling a little bit on the front, and I felt really good there. So just try to line up a pass, and I was doing everything I could to try to catch up to these Westby guys, to Matthew Schultz. I always want my my Yamaha Lube, Yamaha Financial Services, Monster Energy Graves Yamaha to be the first Yamaha on the track at least. So anyway, but I had a good race, ready for tomorrow, and feeling strong.
Thanks, Garrett. Congrats.
Definitely a lot more aggression today from Garrett. So the fact that he felt strong on the front end of that bike definitely showed. You can see him here running 3rd behind the leaders, Beaubier and Herron, early in the race. He looked very comfortable doing so, Greg. It's funny how a bike can be good, then change a little bit, then you kind of adjust your riding, or something comes back. There might be a feel that comes back to you. All during the course of 26 laps, there's a lot of moving parts.
All right, let's get down to Hannah, who has our 2nd place finisher, Matthew Schultz.
So, Matt, we haven't seen you on the podium since Atlanta. It's got to feel pretty good to be back up here today. Tell me how you were able to get back on the podium this weekend.
Well, I mean, from the first practice out, I felt really confident. The bike was good. We seemed to have found something from the last race, and in the second qualifying, we made quite a drastic change, and we went the complete wrong way. So for the first race now, we just went back to the first qualifying settings, and maybe the first 6 or 7 laps I felt very sketchy. I was running wide, losing the front, but then I got to the halfway point and the guys seemed to slow down, and I actually started coming into my own then. And then yeah, once I got past Beaubier, I just put a couple of decent laps down, and yeah, I'm very happy to be back up on the podium. I just have to say thank you to the Westby boys. The last couple of rounds have been extremely tough for us, and I'm just so happy to be back up on the podium here. Thank you to everyone back home that's been supporting me and just been behind the Westby team. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Really good to see. It's good to see Matthew back up on the podium where I think he belongs. I think it puts a lot of pressure on these teams. I mean, I'm sure when their rider rolls out that first practice on these 2-day weekends, 2-day events, it puts a lot of pressure on them. You can see Matthew aggressive as normal, going through the pack here. That's when he got up to 2nd. But yeah, great job for Matthew today.
Well, let's get back down to Hannah, who has a rider who, well, really a great and perfect race. Tony Elias with Hannah.
Now, you were really able to pull away at the end there. Greg was asking up in the booth, he wants to know, do you feel more comfortable toward the end of the race when you have a lighter fuel load than the beginning of the race when you've got a full tank of fuel?
Yes, at the beginning of the race appeared some problem I didn't expect. The track temperature was higher, and the extra weight on the front from the tank, from the gas, didn't help. So I couldn't do much, but also I was too relaxed. One rider passed me, no problem. Another, no problem. When I was in 5th position, I said, oh, maybe you have a big problem now. I wanted to overtake, I couldn't, but everything's become easy after lap 12, 13, everything was better, less full, front grip was better, and I had a good traction. So everything was perfect. We did a great job. Thanks to my team.
Thank you. Congratulations, Tony Elias.
There you go.
Pretty subdued. I thought he'd be really ecstatic with that race. He definitely got a little help today.
We'll take a break. On the other side, more coming at you from Utah Motorsports Campus as FS2's coverage continues.